Welcome to day one of the Mix Like a Hitmaker workshop. I'm Bobby Owsinski, and you may know me from some of my best-selling books, award-winning blogs, top-rated podcasts, popular online courses, and the recordings that I've worked on. First off, let me say the fact that you're here tells me something important about you. You care about your music. You're not satisfied with good enough. You know that your mixes can be better and they can be amazing, but you just haven't cracked the code yet. I get it. I've been there. Staring at the DAW, wondering why your mixes don't sound like the big hits, feeling frustrated, unsure of what's missing. But here's the truth. You're closer than you think to creating mixes that stand shoulder to shoulder with pros. Today is about seeing the bigger picture, the opportunity that's in front of you. Because when your mixes sound better, when they have that punch, clarity, and excitement, everything changes. Your dream of making music that moves people becomes real. You stop second-guessing yourself and start finishing projects with confidence. You feel the pride of knowing your mixes can compete with anything that's out there. And let me tell you something, that's not just a technical achievement, it's a righteous pursuit. When you create great music, you're making the world a better place. You're sharing your voice, your art, and your soul. The problem is, most musicians, songwriters, producers, and engineers don't know the powerful yet subtle techniques that Hitmaker mixers use to make their mixes come alive. They try more plugins, more compression, more EQ, and it still doesn't sound right. That's where I come in. Over the next 3 days, I'm going to show you the exact steps the pros use to give their mixes heft and size, to give them that major label sheen that every hit has, and make your mixes punchy and powerful. Plus, at the end, I'm going to tie this all together by showing you the formula at the center of every great mix. These are techniques that I've learned from some of the best mixers on the planet over my 30 years in Hollywood. These are techniques that will work on any genre of music, on any DAW or console, and you won't need any fancy expensive plugins either. And if you use them right now on your next mix, you're going to be pleasantly surprised with how much better your mixes sound. Today we're going to tackle the first piece of the puzzle, but first, let me tell you a story. I was recording at the famous Sunset Sound Studios in Hollywood. I needed a break to clear my head, so I went out back to the basketball court that they had on the lot. There was someone already there shooting baskets, and when I looked closer, I saw that it was Prince, who was also in the studio mixing in another room. I thought to myself, yeah, I'd like to shoot some baskets with Prince. But as I made my move towards the court, a very large man came out of nowhere, stepped in front of me and said, "Prince don't want no company." I was a little offended since I was paying for the privilege of the basketball court just as much as Prince was, but I slunk back to my studio to go to work. I was telling one of the staff engineers about my encounter when he said, "Oh yeah, Prince uses that time on the court to plan his mix, so he doesn't want any interruptions." At that point, I understood completely because a mix is like a long journey. Sometimes the path is a lot harder than you think because you encounter a situation you're not prepared for. Sometimes it's scary because you don't know what to do to make it sound the way you want. Sometimes you're afraid to try anything new because you fear that maybe you'll make it worse. That's why it helps to have a guide with you to get quickly past those barriers. In this workshop, I'm going to be your guide. So let's begin. Now I'm about to show you a simple but powerful technique that will immediately give your mixes more girth and size. It doesn't require any fancy plugins or complicated setups, just a smart approach that every pro knows, and now you will too. One of the problems that just about every mixer has is getting enough girth on the kick and the bass. Now, once upon a time, mixers really didn't worry about this because no one could hear it. Their speakers weren't good enough and big enough to actually hear this, but now everybody can hear it because they're listening on phones and they're listening on earbuds. So we expect to have that girth, that weight on the bottom of our mix. But how do you get it? That's the hard part, because if it's not recorded well, it's not there automatically. That said, this is a quick and very easy method in order to get this girth, and you'll be surprised how good a job it does. So let's listen to what we have here. I'm going to just play the drums so you can hear it. Sounds pretty good. Low end's a little weak. If we look at what we have, there's already a bump that's happening, down here at 63. And maybe that's a little low. What happens if we bring it to 80, which is usually where it should be? Didn't make that much of a difference, but our little girth trick will work really well. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to duplicate our kick track. So here we go. We'll just hit duplicate, and we're going to say yes to everything. I don't really want the sends. So let's just listen to what happens with our kick. So here's without it. Here's the kick by itself. And for this, I don't need any of the plugins. Believe it or not, they'll get in the way. What I'm going to do is add a very, very simple low-pass filter. So I come over here, and I'm just going to take this one band here, and now I'm going to bring it down to about 100 cycles. That's it. Now watch this. Very simple girth. Listen to the track.
Even though you don't say much, I feel like I can tell. You're just about done and you're had enough. Living alone in your self-made hell. I can see from your broken smile, you must be getting tired.
Now the beauty here is we can dial in as much as we want or as little as we want. All we want is to make sure that we have a nice big, not even a round bottom. What we're looking for is just some weight and girth through the bottom. It's not always easy to get, and this is a way that can help us. Now we can also use this on the bass as well. Let's have a listen. And there are plugins that we could use to help us get that extra low end. Max Bass is one of them, and it works really well. But you have to buy that, and I can just show you how to do this without having to worry about buying anything. So once again, we will duplicate it. And in this case, I'm going to say, I don't want any inserts. I don't want any sends or group assignments. So we'll just do it like that. We can get rid of that as well. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to come down here, and all I'm going to do is add this very simple one-band EQ. I'm going to hit low-pass filter, bring it down to about 100, and watch. Instant girth. Now let's listen without both of these girth tracks. Listen to what we started with, and then I'll put them both in the mix.
Even though you don't say much, I feel like I can tell. You're just about done and you had enough. Living alone in your self-made hell. I can see from your broken smile, you must be getting tired.
And that's a real simple way to give our kick and bass some extra girth, some extra weight, some extra bottom, some extra low end, whatever you want to call it, but just make it sound bigger and better. So in order to create the kick, bass, girth secret, duplicate the kick channel first, then insert a low pass filter on the new duplicated channel. Set it to about 100 Hertz, add about 12 dB per octave. You don't have to get fancy with this at all. Now you can play with that 100 Hertz, take it up a little higher, take it down a little lower, whatever the case, but 100 seems to work pretty well. Then increase the level of the fader gradually of this brand new channel, and then you'll hear this extra weight on the bottom. And finally, do the same thing on the bass channel if you need it, and that will give you this extra low end everybody's always looking for. So the bottom line with this trick is that the more girth you have, the bigger your mix sounds, to a point. Add too much and it will sound woofy and bloated, which we don't want. When your mix has girth and size, it sounds more like a major label release. It also plays a lot better when you compare it to other tracks on Spotify, Amazon Music, and other streaming services. And finally, this trick uses the simplest plugin available on any DAW, so you don't have to buy anything else. I want to get to what you can expect tomorrow, but first, let me tell you another story. I was in Costa Rica speaking at a conference. As you can see, this was a beautiful resort, but the best part is when they took us out to see the country. We went to an active volcano, a tropical rainforest, and a wonderful black sand beach all in the same day. While at the beach, our guide told us he was going to treat us to the drink that everybody gets when they go to the coast. It was called a Churchill, and it consisted of condensed milk, powdered milk, shaved ice, strawberry syrup, and ice cream. It was really sweet, but it was really good. It was called a Churchill because there was this one guy who kept on asking for this drink that he told the vendors how to prepare. He looked like England's former Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and that's how the drink got its name. This is a drink that you'll only find at the beaches of Costa Rica, and although there are imitations, it's the original recipe that makes it work. Recipes are really important, even in audio, and I'm going to show you the recipe that makes good mixes into great ones at the end of the workshop. So today we've solved one problem. Your mixes will now have that extra weight and size that makes them feel bigger and more impactful. But we're not done yet, because even though your mixes now have more girth, they're still missing something. They're missing that polish, that major label sheen that separates a good mix from a hit. And that's exactly what we're going to tackle tomorrow on day 2 of the workshop. I'll show you the secret technique the Hitmaker mixers use to add that magical pro-level finish to every mix. It's simple and easy, and I promise that you'll use it on your next mix and then thank me later. By the way, I'm going to add one extra day to this workshop that's the most important day of them all. There, I'm going to show you how all these techniques tie together into a formula for a great mix so your mixes can be great too. I'll see you then. Let's keep going.